Welcome to Classic Storytime Hub. Tonight, we dive into Edgar Allan Poe's chilling masterpiece, The Masque of the Red Death. But what you'll hear is no ordinary retelling. This is a reimagined narration, reshaped with fresh suspense and cinematic rhythm, crafted to make the horror feel alive once more.
For months, the land had been ravaged by a terror unlike any plague before. The Red Death struck swiftly, leaving its victims writhing in agony, dizzy and bleeding until their bodies were marked with crimson stains, a dreadful sign that no mercy or aid would follow. Within half an hour, life was extinguished, and silence claimed another soul. But Prince Prospero refused despair. Bold and cunning, he gathered 1,000 of his most spirited companions, knights and ladies who still laughed in the shadow of doom, and withdrew into the fortified sanctuary of his grand abbey. Its towering walls and iron gates sealed them off from the dying world outside. Inside, abundance reigned. Food, wine, music, dances, jesters, and endless diversions. Here they believed themselves untouchable, safe from the contagion that stalked beyond the walls. As the months passed and the pestilence raged ever fiercer beyond their refuge, Prospero unveiled his crowning indulgence, a masquerade of unparalleled splendor. Masks glittered, laughter echoed, and the air pulsed with reckless joy. The ball unfolded within 7 chambers, each more fantastical than the last, an imperial suite designed not for comfort, but for spectacle. Unlike the straight vistas of ordinary palaces, these rooms twisted and turned, their doors opening only partially so that no guest could see the entire expanse at once. Mystery lingered in every shadow, and the revelry carried on, blind to the fate that waited. Prospero's palace was no ordinary hall of splendor. Its chambers twisted and turned like a labyrinth, so that no eye could ever take in more than a single room at once. Every 20 or 30 paces, the corridor bent sharply, revealing a new spectacle. Tall Gothic windows pierced each wall, their stained glass glowing with colors that matched the chamber's design. The first room shimmered in deep blue, its panes glowing like frozen sapphire. The second was drenched in royal purple, the third alive with green, the fourth blazing orange, the fifth pale as bone white, the sixth veiled in violet shadows. But the seventh was unlike all the rest. Draped entirely in black velvet from ceiling to floor, it swallowed light and sound. Its carpet was heavy and dark, its walls suffocating. And yet the firelight through crimson panes cast a blood-red glow across the gloom. No lamp nor candle lit these rooms. Instead, braziers of fire blazed in the corridors, their flames pouring through the tinted glass, painting each chamber in strange, shifting hues. The effect was dazzling, grotesque, almost otherworldly. But in the black chamber, the firelight through crimson panes turned every face ghastly, every shadow monstrous. Few dared to cross its threshold, for the room seemed less a place of revelry than a vision of death itself.
In the farthest chamber, looming against the western wall, stood a colossal clock carved from blackened ebony. Its pendulum swung with a heavy, relentless rhythm, each clang dull and oppressive like the heartbeat of doom itself. And when the hour arrived, the clock's brazen voice rang out, deep, resonant, strangely melodic, yet so unsettling in its tone that the entire masquerade faltered. The orchestra froze mid-note, dancers halted mid-step. A hush swept through the revelers as the sound rolled across the rooms. The most carefree among them turned pale, while the older and wiser pressed their brows, lost in uneasy reflection. But once the echoes faded, nervous laughter broke the silence. Musicians exchanged sheepish smiles, whispering promises that the next toll would not disturb them. Yet when 60 minutes passed and the clock thundered again, the same shiver of dread returned, as inevitable as time itself. Still, the revel continued. The masquerade was dazzling, grotesque, and magnificent all at once. Prince Prospero's taste was unlike any other, bold, extravagant, almost barbaric in its brilliance. Some whispered he was mad, but those who stood in his presence knew otherwise. He had shaped the very soul of the fête, the 7 chambers, the costumes, the masks. The figures that drifted through the rooms were wild, distorted, glittering phantoms, creatures of fantasy and nightmare, born from the prince's own imagination. The masquerade had become a fever dream. Beauty mingled with grotesque shapes, laughter tangled with shadows, and the dancers moved like phantoms through the 7 chambers, each room staining them with its own color. The orchestra's wild music seemed less like melody than the echo of their restless steps. Then the ebony clock spoke. Its voice rolled through the velvet chamber, heavy and commanding. At once the revel froze, the dancers stiffened, the musicians faltered, and silence reigned, broken only by the solemn toll. Faces paled, thoughts stirred, and for a heartbeat the illusion of joy collapsed. But as the echoes faded, nervous laughter fluttered back, and the music swelled again. The dreams resumed their writhing dance, more frantic than before, as though mocking the passage of time. Yet none dared enter the westernmost chamber. Its black velvet walls and blood-red windows cast a light too dreadful to endure. Those who stepped upon its sable carpet heard the clock's toll more deeply, more ominously than anywhere else, and so the crowd pressed into the other rooms, clinging to their revelry as if life itself depended on it. The night wore on, the revel grew wilder, and then midnight. 12 strokes thundered from the ebony clock, each one dragging thought and fear into the minds of the revelers. As the final echo faded, whispers stirred. A figure had appeared among them, unnoticed until now. Masked, silent, terrible. The murmur spread, first surprise, then unease, then horror. The revelers recoiled, their laughter strangled, their joy curdled into disgust and dread. Something had entered their sanctuary, and it was no ordinary guest. Among the swirling masquerade of phantoms, no ordinary mask could have stirred such dread. The revelry had tolerated every excess, beauty, grotesquerie, even madness, but the figure that now moved among them shattered all bounds. Tall, skeletal, cloaked in the garments of the grave, its face was hidden behind a mask so lifeless, so corpse-like, that even the boldest eye could scarcely tell illusion from reality. And yet it was not the deathly disguise alone that froze the crowd. The intruder had dared to embody the very terror they had fled, the Red Death itself. His robes were smeared with blood, his brow and features stained with scarlet horror. As he drifted solemnly through the dancers, the revelers recoiled, their laughter scrambled into silence. Prospero saw him. At first, a violent shudder seized the prince. Whether of fear or revulsion, none could say. But in the next instant, rage blazed across his face. His voice rang through the chambers, bold and furious. "Who dares mock us with this profane disguise? Seize him, strip away his mask, that we may know the traitor who shall hang at sunrise from the battlements." The command echoed through all 7 rooms, silencing the music, chilling the courtiers. In the blue chamber, where Prospero stood with his pale companions, the crowd stirred uneasily. Some moved toward the intruder, who now advanced with deliberate, stately steps, closer, ever closer to the prince himself.
No hand dared rise against the intruder. A nameless terror gripped the revelers, and so the figure moved unhindered, passing within a breath of Prospero himself. The crowd recoiled to the walls, leaving the center of each chamber empty as the specter advanced, step by solemn step, through blue, then purple, then green, then orange, then white, then violet, until at last he reached the threshold of the black velvet room. It was then that Prospero, consumed by rage and the shame of his own fear, surged forward. His dagger gleamed as he stormed through the chambers, chasing the phantom with reckless fury. But when he reached the final room, the figure turned to face him. A cry split the air. The dagger fell, clattering upon the sable carpet, and Prospero collapsed lifeless at the feet of the intruder. Desperation drove the revelers into the black chamber. They seized the figure, tearing at its grave shrouds and corpse-like mask. But horror froze their blood, for beneath the garments was no body, no substance, nothing at all. The Red Death itself had come. Like a thief in the night, it claimed them one by one. The halls of revelry became halls of blood. The dancers fell where they stood, their laughter silenced forever. The great ebony clock ceased its tolling, its life extinguished with theirs. The flames of the tripods guttered out, and in the end, darkness, decay, and the Red Death reigned without limit, sovereign over all.
And thus the story ended. If you liked this journey into the worlds of classic literature, do not forget to support us by subscribing so we can tell you more. And hey, if there's a classic tale you'd love to hear told in this suspenseful style, drop its name in the comments below. Your suggestion might be our next chilling adventure.